right. We were telling first service, this feels a lot like Wednesday nights, because normally Wednesday nights I'll lead a couple songs for worship, and then I spend a few really awkward moments trying to get situated so I can preach. So, anyways, welcome to Westside. If you've never actually been here, I don't know if I thought I'd seen a couple unfamiliar faces, but if you're new here, I'm not the pastor, but I am preaching this morning. So, Pastor and Marcia are spending some much needed time in the mountains. Extra time. All the men just got back, right? You guys had a good time, and DL hung out, and Marcia flew out there, and so he and Mike, Brian, and Kay, they're all out there just resting, which is, they needed that, didn't they? I don't know if you guys are aware of how hard they go all the time, but they certainly need a break. Bob's class. If there's any Bob's class kids, go ahead. You're dismissed. All right. Well, you guys ready? Yeah, man. Okay. All right. Well, did you guys tune in to hear Scott the last couple of weeks? If you were able, I know some people don't have internet and things like that, and don't have those connections. But for those that can, if you tuned in, Scott did an awesome job. He was nervous to preach just to the cameras, which that's backwards to me. I'm nervous to speak to people staring at me. So that's it's just one of those things that we just kind of have to work through and just trust that God's going to get out what He's put in our hearts. And so we've been talking about faith, right? We're in this series, according to my faith, and so it's your faith, right? It's not mine. You're living your faith, Grover. You're living your faith. I'm living my faith. It's yours. And no one can work your faith for you. You've got to do it yourself. It's according to your faith. And so this week, it was on my heart to look at faith from the perspective of the heart. So we're going to talk about the importance of the heart and how it works in relation with your faith. It's extremely important. I don't think we put enough importance on the heart. But here's the fact. If your heart's weak, then your faith won't be strong. You can't have strong faith in a weak heart. Okay? That's right. Go ahead. Thanks, Dev. I appreciate it. So, your heart is important. Your heart is where faith is birthed and where it grows and develops. And that's where it comes out of. It comes out of your heart. There's good things that come out of your heart, and there's bad things that come out of your heart. Just what Jesus had said. He said that out of the good treasure of a man's heart, good things come out. And out of a bad treasure or evil treasure, evil things come out. Right? And so, faith really it's not complicated. Faith is important, and it's good that we're studying it. But really, there's not a lot of complexity to faith. Faith is pretty simple. You hear from the Word of God, and you trust Him, and you act on it. You believe it. And so you act that way. You act like you believe it. The heart, on the other hand, is a little bit more complicated. The heart's kind of tricky. Like we were just saying, terribly evil things can come from your heart. Sin, in general, hate, anger, despair, hopelessness. Those things can come from your heart. But on the flip side, amazing things can come from your heart. You can move mountains if you have a steady heart. You can endure all kinds of situations with a secure and steady heart. So the heart's a little complicated. We have a will of our own. God has given us that. We're not robots. He doesn't work us like puppets. We have a choice. Like I said, your heart is yours, or your faith is yours. In the same way, your heart is yours. You're the care provider of your heart, and you can steer it any direction you want to. And so, your heart is exactly where your faith is going to be. If you steer your heart towards evil or to fear, guess what you're going to have faith in? Your heart's important. It's like I said, it's the source of where your faith comes from. It's where it's planted, where it grows. It's born and raised there, right? I can't take a stand for something. See, this is something that Scott had mentioned last week. He preached what I was planning on preaching last week. I was going to title it Faith to Stand, but anyways. So Scott mentioned the scripture where it says, having done all to stand. It's in Ephesians, I think, where it talks about the armor of the Spirit. Having done all to stand, stand therefore. And I agree. We need to stand. We need to stand as Christians in this world right now. We need to stand. But the problem is, many of us don't have the will to stand. We desire good things. We desire good things to move forward and to be done. But if your heart's weak, you can't take a stand for something. Right? If I don't have the will and the gumption to just get up and do something, then I'm just wishful thinking. If my heart's not already determined to do that thing that I'm opinionated about, then it's not going to happen. Your heart's important. It's very important. I can't, in my own life, I can't resist sin if I have a weak heart. I can't live like I'm supposed to if my heart's condition is weak and feeble. I can't live like I'm supposed to. And God can't work through me. Like I said, this series that we've been in is about faith. And faith is important. But you got to have a strong heart. You got to take time to strengthen it, direct it, clean it. Your heart, again, is where your faith grows out of. Born and raised there. By addressing our heart, we can strengthen our faith. Okay? If we take time to pay attention to our heart, take care of it, our faith will take care of itself. Like I said, faith, not complicated. It comes naturally. See, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, right? So that faith is there. If you can hear from God, you've got faith. It's there. But you have to provide the right conditions in your heart for that faith to stay there and to grow and develop. Right? Okay. So I'm the kind of person, if I'm trying to fix an issue or something, I like to get to the source of the problem. So the title of this sermon is The Heart of the Matter. Here's a little play on words. It's funny because I had already planned what I was going to share and kind of titled it and stuff, and we were talking on Wednesday night or Tuesday night at worship practice, and I was like, this is what we're going to talk about, and this is what we're going to call it, and I thought it was pretty clever, and they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And I was looking up sermons on YouTube the other day, and I saw that T.D. Jakes had one called The Heart of the Matter, and I was like, well, okay. Anyways, his was a completely different subject, though, So this is original, by the way. I didn't steal this from anybody. I like to share quotes from other ministers and stuff, and what God shares through them, and it just, I don't know if you guys spend much time listening to other preachers and things like that, but it helps me to spend some time during the week listening to messages and preaching and encouragement and stuff like that. So, anyways, so the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is your heart, right? What we're talking about this morning, faith. If we want to build your faith, you're going to have to approach your heart and take a deep look, a serious look, and say, where's my heart? Your heart is the core of who you are. It's what motivates you. Why are you who you are? Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you say the things that you say? Why do you value the things that you value? Why do you spend time doing whatever it is you do on a regular basis? I value my family, so I spend a lot of time with my family, or at least I try to. I value an income, so I work. I do my best to work and try to be on time and make sure that I get what needs to be done. So that shows from my heart. I do those things because that's what I've put in my heart, the things that I value. Many times the Bible, when it's referencing the heart, it's really talking about your soul. So your soul is your mind and your will and your emotions. So the things you think about, the things that you will to really do, your emotions that are caught up in those things. And so many times that's what the Bible is referring to when it says the heart. your heart, your character, the things that make you who you are. If you read in Proverbs 4:23, and if you'll put this one up, you guys know this, but keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Look at your neighbor and say, you got issues. Then you can look at yourself and say, I got issues too, sorry. I got issues. You got issues, I got issues. If you got young kids, you got issues. I understand that. I've got some issues because, I'm not even sure what to do because my little girl, when she becomes a teenager, I don't have a gun. I mean, this is a problem. Yes. Thankfully, I know lots of people around here that can help me out with that. But if any of you guys know my daughter, life's going to be challenging. She's the cutest little thing, but man, is she's got a will. I'll just say that. We're talking about the heart. She's got a will for sure. But it has, your heart has everything to do with who you are and what you do. And so out of that heart comes the issues of your life, the issues that come about. See, it's not so much the trials that are facing you on the inside that are the problem, right? So the issues come out of your heart. See, the problem isn't that you can't find a job and you're stressed out and you're freaking out and you don't know what to do and see, the trouble is that stress that you've let in your heart. God will provide a job. The trouble isn't that you're struggling with this addiction and it's freaking you out and the more stress you get, the more you do it or whatever else. The trouble is the heart. It's the heart. The trouble is that you're trying to substitute what only God can provide with some kind of physical thing, some kind of worldly thing, right? That's the trouble. That's the issues. And so it says to keep your heart with all diligence. It's a constant thing. It's a constant struggle. Because naturally, the tendency of this heart is to go the wrong direction. I mean, it's just like a field. Many of you guys have property. If you just let that field go, what's going to happen? If you wait 5, 10 years, and it's going to be a pain in the rear to clean up and to make usable again. So your heart, the things that you determine in your heart is what you choose to do, and it motivates you, it moves you to do those things. I mean, why would people sacrifice hours of their time on Thursdays to give out food? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would a 92-year-old man join us out there and do that in the heat of the summer? But every week, Jack's out there. And we're all, careful, Jack, careful. Don't get in front of that car, Let me help you with that. But man, he determined in his heart to do it. He's doing it. He's out there. And we try to be careful. I mean, when you get older, your body's limited to certain things, and so you can only do so much, but he's got a will, and he's out there helping. He's doing what he can. He determined in his heart to go and help. Why would Pastor DL, who didn't really care too much for church or even the people in the church, why would he pastor like he has for the last 30-plus years? Why would he do that? God put it in his heart to do it. He's called to do it, but guess what? He chose to follow that calling. His calling has been on his life since he was born, okay? But when his heart was finally ready, faith was born, and he took on with that. He accepted that call, and he took off with it. And he's done an amazing job, I'll just say that. Thank God for Pastor DL and Marcia. Thank God for them. Scott was just saying last week and even the week before how encouraged and strengthened his faith has been from watching DL and Marcia and the testimonies that have been shared and things like that. You can see the heart of these people when they choose to trust in God, when they've prepared their heart before a struggle comes and they stand firm. It encourages others. You can see the will and the desire. Anyways, why would I be up here preaching to people when I'm scared to death of it? What am I doing? But God put this on my heart, and I decided I wanted to go ahead and share. And so, even though it's not easy for me, I determined in my heart I'm going to do this because I feel like this might help somebody, and hopefully it does. Hopefully this will penetrate your hearts. I pray that it does, and then I can give you some good help along the way. And those are some good things. On the flip side of that, why would a teenager, maybe I've seen this happen, why would a teenager neglect their family to go hang out with their friends? And sometimes if they keep going along that track, they'll eventually neglect their good friends for like drugs and alcohol and things like that. They'll get involved in the wrong crowd, and then eventually they're so caught up in the drugs and in the alcohol or whatever it is, the addiction, that they blow everybody out of their life. They just let everybody go. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody choose to live in hate and anger all their life and not live in love and forgiveness? Sin in general really doesn't make much sense. You hurt yourself, you hurt the people around you. It's really not a very smart thing to sin, but we do it. It just happens, okay? We choose to make wrong decisions all the time. Thank God for God's grace, right? Amen. Amen. Why would Netflix produce what they've been producing lately? Why would they do that? That's terrible. And why would people defend it? Why have teenagers in our community been talking about suicide? Why would they do that? And we can talk about the details about what influences those things, like obviously COVID's has some things to do with it and different things, all these different things to play into that. But the problem is the heart. The root of the issue is the heart. See, the trouble is these students who haven't been taught how to trust God with all their heart are seeing adults who are scared to death. They're seeing adults go around completely fearful of everything that's going on because we've never seen a situation like this before. We've never seen the world at this point. And it scares us. And we let the devil have a heyday and create a playground on our hearts. And it gets packed, and the grass can't grow, and life can't flow. Faith can't be planted there. And people become hateful and selfish and fearful, hopeless. The trouble is people have not determined in their hearts to seek God and to trust Him through it all. See, I can teach my kids to attend church. That's a good thing. I can teach them to read their Bibles every day and pray every day. I can even teach them to raise their hands in worship and to sing as loud as they possibly can, and to storm the altars when the altar call is called. But if they don't learn how to love God with all their heart, when they move out of my house and go to college and they face challenges and all kinds of different worldviews and different theologies, their faith, which was really my faith that they were riding on, will be ripped. It'll be destroyed. But if I teach my kids to love God with all their heart, and I show them how to do that, and they see me do that, and they see the value that I place on God and the way it changes me in my life, if they see that, they're set for life. If you as parents, and I'm talking to myself, if we as parents want to see our children live in this crazy world, live at least somewhat of a decent life, we must teach them to love God with all their hearts. To anchor their hearts in the hope and the love of Christ. My heart breaks for that. I heard Bev was telling us Tuesday night at practice how that a lot of the students have been talking about everything that's been going on and just talking about suicide and just all these different things, and it's sad. I feel bad for them. They need hope. They need someone to show them that there is hope, that there's something to help us to get it through these challenging times. We don't have to live hopeless in this situation. We don't have to do that. We don't have to let fear run wild in our hearts. It's in these people's hearts to do these things. Train your kids to love God with all their heart, and they can withstand any trial. Isn't that what the Bible says? Well, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Now, a lot of times we like to quote that verse, and the truth of the matter is that Paul was saying that when he was explaining that he can face good times and bad times. He's learned how to be poor and to be rich. He's learned how to face all the ups and downs of this crazy, wild world. And then he said, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things. You know why? Because my heart is settled and it's anchored in the hope and the love of Jesus Christ. Yeah, amen, that's right. I hate to break it to you guys, but Rachel and I are actually moving. Some of you guys know this. And we're moving out west, actually. Yeah. Well, West 76. I mean, she's giving me the evil eye over here. I was hesitant to, I was telling Rachel I was going to say that, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't say that. They might actually start rejoicing. I don't know. We might, I might kind of find out how loved I really am here. But no, we're going to be moving out just past DL's place, and we're going to be renting from DL. And we had looked at this house. It's a trailer house, and there's not really anything wrong with trailer houses, but this one's is a little bit older, so it's got some age to it. And we had looked at it and it looked great when we went and looked at it, and we're like, yeah, we really felt like this is what God would want us to do, and it's a little more space, it's bigger. And so we went and looked at the place, and we took CJ out there. CJ's my younger brother. He does construction. Most of you guys know that, but just in case. Well, okay, most people around here know him as Chris. People talk to me about Chris, and I have no idea who they're talking about. Anyways, so we took Chris, the construction worker. I'm known as Chris's brother down at the hardware store. But anyways, so he went with us, and we were looking and stuff after the guy had moved out, and we were moving stuff around and looking, and we noticed that there was some soft spots in the floor underneath a couple of the windows. And we're like, oh, well, it's a trailer house. We can fix it. And CJ was explaining to me that the porch on the front of this house is pushing all the water up against the front of the house right there where the windows are on either side of the porch. And they had taken storm windows and put them on the inside of the windows all around the house to try and keep the moisture out. Because, trailer houses aren't exactly built the most weatherproof, okay? And so they had done that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure they were trying to do the best they could at the time. But the trouble was the water got pushed into the walls and the window sills, and then it traveled down into the floors. So the walls and the floors are rotten underneath those windows. Most of the house is pretty good. It's just these few spots. The point of this is it was rotting from the inside out. And you couldn't see it until you stepped on the soft spot in the floor. Or if you took a deep look at the windowsill or pushed against the wall and it squished in real far. So, how often do we try a quick fix for our heart? We've got a heart issue, but we're just covering it up with more whatever. Yeah. Instead of going to God and fixing our hearts, we go to we go binge watch on Netflix, or we drink some alcohol, or we do whatever makes us feel good at the time. That's a problem. That's just rotting ourselves out from the inside, because those things can't give us what we need, even though for the moment we feel good. It looks way better on the outside. Looks fine. But you better be careful where you step, because you'll fall through the floor if you're not careful. Don't just quick fix a heart issue. Jesus mentioned this with the Pharisees when he was talking to them. He called them hypocrites and said, "You're nothing but whitewashed tombs. You look nice and pretty. You do all the right things. Like I was saying, we can teach our kids to do all the right things, but guess what? If it's not coming from your heart, it's worthless. David was a man after God's own heart. David did some amazing things for God. Even the lineage of the kingdom of Jesus came through David because he was a man after God's own heart. He messed up, right? He had some issues, but God blessed him beyond measure. Why? Because his heart was turned toward God. And even when he messed up, he knew where to go. He knew what to do. Because prior to his mess up, to the issue, he had already established his heart. So in the same way that we're responsible for our faith, you're also responsible for your heart. You are in charge of your heart. You direct it. You focus on it. I was listening to a sermon by Stephen Furtick, and he said that your habits create the condition of your heart. And it's true. Your habits really do create the condition of your heart. You remember I was mentioning that your heart is, when the Bible references your heart, it's really talking about your soul. So your mind, your will, and emotions. Now listen, your mind, the things that you think about, you spend time meditating on, and you think about, and you turn it over. Many times we do this with fear. We think about, oh man, I can't, or with stress. We think about work, or we think about our kids, or we think about the house is filthy, or we think about, oh, I don't have gas money, or whatever. And we just sit and think about it. We just think and think and think and think, even though it doesn't really change anything. But it is changing something. It may not be fixing the problem. The true problem in your heart is getting worse and worse and worse, and it's growing and growing and growing. Take care of your heart, and the faith will be there naturally. Okay? If you want a good place for your faith to grow and to flourish, it'll grow naturally. A seed grows by itself. It grows fine if you give it the right conditions. You can't make that seed grow, but you can give it a good place to grow. You can give it a great opportunity to flourish. Okay. What time is it? I'm about halfway through. I'm trying to figure out how we're doing here. Okay. All right. So we've got to take care of our heart. That's the point of this whole thing. And it has to happen. We really need to be regularly taking care of our heart prior to any situations. Anytime we need to use our faith, your heart needs to be ready and settled, right? Time to go is not time to get ready, right? We say that all the time here. Okay. So David, as a boy, he learned how to trust God, didn't he? He trusted God to help him take care of them sheep. He trusted God to help him kill Goliath. Okay, he couldn't have done that if he hadn't already established his heart in a relationship with God prior to that. And when he walked up to the battle lines, and he's trying to find out what's going on, and he hears Goliath defying the armies of God, he's like, oh, that guy's got to go. Okay, so what's the difference here? So this boy comes up, and he's angry and motivated to do something about the situation when all of the army is scared to death. What's the difference there? What's going on? And he did it. He didn't just say something needs to happen here. He's like, well, I'll do it. That's not an issue. Let's go take care of it. And everybody else was scared to death. They didn't know what to do. They were hopeless. They thought for sure that they were just going to be under the command of the Philistines for the rest of their lives, because they had nothing that they could do. David had already established in his heart a relationship with God, and he knew the faithfulness of God. And he knew by law that when someone defied God, they were to be stoned. And that's what Goliath was doing. And so David said, oh, I brought my sling. Let's grab a rock. Let's take care of it. Come on, let's go fix it. It was his heart. Yes, he had faith. He had faith because he had taken time to establish his heart. He gave a good place for that faith to grow. And he knew the Word of God. Okay, so some keys for preparing and maintaining your heart. Okay, now at this point, we're going to go to some very familiar scripture, so please pay attention. Okay? I as bad as anybody, will, I'll go to a service or I'll listen to a sermon or something, and the pastor will say, well, let's go to this portion of the scriptures, and we're going to talk about this. And I'm thinking, I've heard this. I already know this. But please stay hooked up with me this morning. Let's turn on over to Mark chapter 4. And we're going to start with verse 15. So this is the parable of the sower sowing the word. And you can notice the value that Jesus places on this parable when he says, if you don't understand this parable, you won't understand any of the parables that I teach. Okay, that tells me it's pretty important. If I want to be able to use any of the things that Jesus taught and the things that God's communicating to me, then I need to understand how this works. And so let's start at verse 14. And it says, the sower soweth the word. And these are they by the wayside where the word is sown. But when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. So that word wayside, it means this in the original language. It means a road or a footpath, a journey, a way of life, a course of conduct. And so when I was studying this, what came to mind when I read that definition is just the challenges of daily life. The stresses of daily life and the things that just come up from day to day, and just that daily routine and just going and doing what you got to do every day. Those things, if we're not careful, if we don't keep our heart soft regularly, it will harden your heart. It will pack it down. Does that make sense? And so it's important that we regularly, maybe in the morning before you even start your day, maybe in the morning before you do any studying, take some time to just soften your heart towards God. Maybe it's praying, maybe it's worshiping, maybe it's just spending a few minutes just resting, just letting God communicate to you, just sitting in his presence. If we don't regularly soften the soil of our heart, the challenges of daily life will pack it so hard that God's word cannot penetrate. And we live by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God, right? It's true. His word gives me faith, it gives me life, it gives me a will to keep moving, it gives me something to live for. And if that's not penetrating my heart, I'm living hopelessly. I'm just an empty tomb. I'm just doing my daily thing, living out of an empty heart. Stop letting Satan trample all over your heart. Don't let the stresses of everyday life wear you down. Because if we do that, if we let him, like I said earlier, he turns people's heart into this huge playground, and he just packs it all down, and he just tramples it all to pieces. And then it's so hard that God's word can't get in. It's like we have some people here that run the racetrack there in West Plains. And I was like, well, if I had spread some seed out there on that racetrack this year, would it have grown? No, because regularly they have vehicles trampling down that dirt all the time, and it's not gonna do anything. So take time every day to turn your heart towards God. Let it be soft toward him. So the second portion here is verses 16 through 17. It says, these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who when they have heard the word immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution rises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. So this is This is shallow soil here with hard rock underneath it. This is where we need to plow deep. We need to work our hearts deep. Spend good quality time in the presence of God. Secure your hope in Him. Allow Him to prove Himself faithful to you over and over again. This takes time. It takes experience with God. It takes little baby steps of faith to continue to get deep roots. This is a regular act. Using your faith, growing your faith, making sure that the soil of your heart is worked deep enough that the roots of your faith can grow strong and deep. Make room for those roots to grow deep. Determine in your heart to trust God no matter what. And to some, that might be a scary thought. Like, I have no experience with God. I don't have any reason to trust Him because I don't know Him. Well, try it. Give Him a chance. See if He'll be faithful to you. He will. That's His nature. Exactly. That's right. That's all He knows to do, is to be faithful to you. In fact, you don't even have to do anything, and He's been faithful to you. He's provided His grace and His mercy through His Son, whether you would receive it or not. All right. Hope is an anchor for our soul. We need deep roots in an anchored heart, an anchored soul. Isaiah 40:31 says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength." Take time to wait on God. Like I said, develop a deep and strong relationship with the Lord that you'll trust Him through the challenging situations. And you'll be strengthened. Praise. Giving God praise is strengthening. I was telling first service this morning, and I was telling my wife when I went home in between services, I felt way better after worship. I was nervous. Okay, I was nervous about preaching this morning, but after worship, I was like, oh, I could do this. No, we got it. Especially after seeing Sea of Victory. You can't beat that one. But good quality time with God. That's my love language, is quality time. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 5 love languages, but that's my thing. I like to spend time with people, doing things with people. I've really enjoyed developing relationships with people out here distributing food. So I've gotten to know people, for me, on a much more personal level, and I really like that. Because I feel like I can relate with them. If I wanted to minister to those people, I'd know what to say. I know what they struggle with, or the things they've got going on in their life, and things like that. And it just means so much more to me if I've done things with people, if I worked with people. And so, anyways, take time to seek God. Take time to get to know Him. Give Him a chance to prove Himself faithful, and anchor your heart in that hope that we have through Jesus Christ. It says afterward, when affliction or persecution arises. Affliction and persecution will arise. It does come. And I know we say this a lot. No one gets a free pass. When you live in this kind of a world, you experience trials and troubles. And the way to face those things is to anchor your heart and to have a strong heart. Faith that is not challenged or tried is incomplete. So the very nature of faith is challenging to the flesh. So we're supposed to walk by faith and not by sight, right? Not go by the things that you can see. It's not easy to step out in faith, like what we say. It's grand and fine to teach about faith. We get excited about it. We like to teach about faith and talk about all the great things you can do with faith and how to grow your faith, and that's all good. But when it comes time to use your faith, oh, wait a minute. That's not easy. That's kind of hard. it's not easy to trust God with that test, right, Ashley? It's not easy to do that when your flesh is screaming at you, don't do that, no, this is going to go terrible. But if you trust God with it, your faith will be completed if you follow through. Faith without works is dead, right? If you act on that faith, it'll be completed and it'll be strengthened for the next time you need your faith. And so each time, those roots grow a little bit deeper, and a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And that's why it's important to keep trusting and following God so that he can continually help you grow your faith so that when those bigger trials do come, when those bigger storms come through, because they will, you can stand strong. It doesn't mean you won't be a little bit battered. You might be kind of, you might be thrown about a little bit, but you'll be anchored. You'll be sturdy. See, you guys, you've probably heard this. It's not the waves of the storm that will sink the ship. It's the water that gets inside of the ship that sinks it, right? See, it's not so much, the issue isn't so much the trials and the things that are going on out here, because it's going to happen. Storms will come, and life will get crazy, and all this stuff will happen. But if your heart is anchored, and it's secured and strong in faith and in the love of God, you can face any situation, like we've already said. You can endure all things. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Okay, so verses 18 and 19. So these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lusts of other things, entering in choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. This portion here, I feel like, it mentions deceptiveness there. This is one of those things where we kind of look at it, because you can build up the nutrients in your soil, and you can have enough nutrients in that soil and have really good soil. You can put compost in there and aerate it and give it plenty of water and all these things, and you can have really, really nice soil. And if you do that, you can get by with a few weeds, right? You can kind of ignore the weeds for a little while, and you can still have a harvest. Not a very good one, but you can get a little bit of fruit. And I think this here, that's the deceptive part about this thing. Because if your heart is anchored in God and you're fully committed to the things of God, you don't want to just get by, right? You don't want to just hit cruise and just ride it out. You want the very best that God can give you. You want to keep moving up and moving forward and seeing God do more and more and bigger things for you. So it's important to pull those weeds. You can only fit so much nutrients in soil. And if you let enough weeds grow up in there, they're going to suck the life out of that soil. And your good stuff will suffer for it. You might get a harvest, maybe, a little bit. And so if you really wanted to just get by, you could ignore the weeds. Pulling weeds is painful. It's hard work. It's not easy. It's not easy. And don't feel bad for having weeds, okay? We've all got them. They come up naturally. Okay, weeds just happen. And we were talking about the seeds and how they don't grow on the places that are trampled. Even weeds like to grow in places like that. Okay? Weeds come. They happen. They grow. They're just there. So don't feel bad if you've got all these things in your life that you're trying to juggle. Don't feel bad for having these things, and it's not bad to be struggling to try and alter, to get to put your priorities where they need to be. Just make sure that none of those weeds take the place of God. If the majority of your heart is plowed and prepped and ready and seeking and watered by the Holy Spirit for the things of God, don't worry. The weeds will take care of themselves. You'll be pulling those weeds, and they won't be able to take up nearly as much nutrients and life out of your heart. Those weeds like to distract you, and they take away your will to continue to press into the things of God. So weeds do grow naturally. Don't feel bad about it. Just work on a daily basis to keep those things plucked out. Every day, reevaluate. Well, what's my focus today? Oh, yeah, I need to refocus on the things of God. I need to make that a priority in my life. Remember, I was mentioning that, that your heart is your mind and your will and emotions and the things that you spend time thinking about. Romans 12:2 says that we are to renew our minds. That's how we're transformed. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, the things that you spend time thinking about. See, Jesus said, let me see here, he says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So in other words, the things that you place value on, your heart follows that. That's where you're steering your heart. Like a lot of people, I saw this, this lady was sharing on YouTube, and she said that she had kind of fallen out of love with her first husband, and that does not happen. You don't just fall out of love with someone. You turn your heart away from that person. You choose where you point your heart. She didn't fall out of love with that person. She started thinking too much about another person. That's what happens. Where you think and spend your time and put your value on, that's where your heart will go. Not the other way around. Your heart doesn't tell you where to go. You tell your heart where to go. The things that you think about is where your heart will go. Does that make sense? So you're in charge of your heart. Where you place value and the priorities that you put in your life, that's where your heart's going to go. Stephen Furtick was telling in one of the sermons that he was preaching that I heard, he was saying that he used to hate exercise. He hated it. And he would just cringe whenever someone would talk about how much they loved to exercise and go work out and stuff like that. But eventually, he decided he needed to be healthier, and so he started working out. He didn't like it at first, but after he had done it for a while, he did like it. He developed a habit for it. It's almost like you have to acquire a taste for it. And it's similar with the things of God. Because, again, our heart isn't naturally turned that way, right? Jesus said there's a lot of evil things in the heart, and we have to take care of that. We have to point our heart in the right direction. We have to learn to love God. If we don't quickly eliminate the weeds, they will steal from our harvest. They'll rob us of our will and our desire to keep pursuing God. If we don't spend time thinking and meditating on the things of God, we won't care about them. Like I said, the things that you spend time thinking about is the things that you'll care about. It's where your heart will go, right? So if I don't think any about what God's will is for our country or for our community and the things that break his heart, if I don't think about those things, and I don't meditate on and trust God to show me what he's wanting, then guess what? I'm not going to care. And if I don't care, I'm not going to stand up for it, right? If I don't care that the students have been talking about suicide, I'm not going to stand up and do anything. However, if I spend time with God and I let him put his heart on my heart, if I let him show me his will, and I spend time thinking about it and seeing how that applies to things and seeing how it affects our community and all these different things, if I spend time thinking and meditating on those things and God's will for it, I'm going to care, right? Because the things that you meditate on and the things that you think about and the things that you place priority on, that's where your heart's going to go. You guys are looking at me like, I don't know about this guy. Okay, so that's the 3 points there. So keep your heart soft. And these things are that's prior to anything else. You start your day that way. Keep your heart soft. Grow deep roots. Till it deep. Grow deep roots. Anchor your heart in the hope of God, and then pull the weeds. Get rid of the weeds. Put your priorities straight. Let God put his will on your heart. Thank you. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. It was pretty heavy on my heart, and so this is what I wanted to share. I want to encourage you guys, take time. Take time to do these things. Pay attention to your heart and the things that you value, because that's where your life is headed. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So let's work on renewing our minds. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Lord, for your will for us, your desire to lead us and to guide us into good things. Lord, you have hope for us, plans for a future. Thank you, Father, for your will for us, Lord, for us to grow and to develop and to do great things for you, Lord, to be encouragers and ministers and hard workers, faithful to the community, faithful to your word, faithful to the people that need you, Lord. Help us to see, Lord, the things that we have in us that this world needs so desperately. Help us, Lord, to more effectively share the hope that we have to the people that need it. Thank you, Father, for a will. Thank you, Father, for strong hearts and for courage. People that have some grit to them. People that have dedicated their hearts to you, Lord. That have been strengthened to do what it is you will have us to do. Whatever it is, Father. No strings attached. I know that you have a good will for me and for the things you want me to do. So help me to do those things. I'll do whatever it is you need me to do. Thank you, Father. Whatever is necessary to minister your life and your spirit to the people in our community and to the people in this country and even this world, Father. Thank you for these people, Lord. I speak blessing over them this morning and blessing over their weekend and their time together with their family. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thanks, guys, for putting up with me. Thank you, guys.